Let's take a trip back to the mid 2000s. I'm backstage at Canadian Idol, hairspray in one hand, comb in the other, making sure the next big stars look perfect for the cameras. It was a blast, and honestly, many of those connections have stayed with me. Fast forward to today, I've been building this podcast, the Fuck You 50s, since February. It's been a slow climb, a steep climb, and at times, a very lonely climb. I've hit the solo ceiling. I realized that if I wanted to take this show where it deserves to go, I needed a heavy hitter in my corner. So I reached out to a familiar face from the Idol days, Jake Gold. Yes, that Jake Gold, the man who manages the Tragically Hip. And in true me fashion, I started the email with, "Hi, Jake. I don't know if you remember me, but," well, he did. And he pointed me towards a powerhouse named Sarah Burke. Sarah is the founder of the Women in Media Network and the podcast producer behind icons like Jan Arden. And today, I am beyond thrilled to announce that the Fuck You 50s is officially joining the Women in Media Network. Sarah is coming on as my creative consultant to help me level up. So get ready, 2026. It is going to look a little bit different, maybe a lot bigger, and we are just getting started. But before we get to the future, let's wrap up 2025 with a bang. Have a listen to our final episode of the year. Welcome to the Fuck You 50s, the podcast for women who refuse to tolerate the bullshit anymore. This is real talk, real stories, and a long overdue reality check. I'm your host, Andrea Claire, and this podcast is the filter-free voice you've been waiting for, with a dose of F-bombs. The Fuck You 50s, unfiltered, unapologetic, and undeniably needed. Who says you need a major network to become international sports correspondents? Certainly not today's guests. We have another twofer. My guests today are the ultimate proof that you can pivot your career at any age and build something incredible from the ground up. Jill and Alison Brown met as corporate librarians in Chicago, but they eventually traded the quiet of the stacks for the roar of the Olympic stadiums. Back in 2012, Jill was working as a freelance writer and Alison was a stay-at-home mom. They realized they were seriously missing that water cooler energy, specifically when it came to their obsession with the Olympics. Instead of waiting for an invite to the party, they did what any bold woman would do. They built their own table and started a podcast. Now they are the hosts and producers of Keep the Flame Alive, the smart, fun, and totally addictive show for Olympic and Paralympic fans. They've gone from the library to the world stage, covering the games, boots on the ground in Beijing and Paris, and they aren't slowing down. This winter, they're heading to Italy to produce daily shows from the Milano Cortina 2026 games. They are living proof that if the conversation you want to have doesn't exist, you have to go out and create the microphone yourself. Jill and Alison, welcome to the Fuck You 50s. Sorry, I kind of, frazzled from being like sick this past week. And,
and switching schedules, and we're used to on the fly. So that's the one thing fun about interviewing other podcasters is we know things go very wrong. The best was we were interviewing somebody we had been trying to get an interview with for a long time. And just as we were starting, I knocked my glass of water just over all over my equipment, all over everything. Thankfully, Jill was doing the recording. So I had to turn off my Jill knew what had happened from the look on my face. And then immediately turn off my camera, turn off my microphone, and frantically trying, because of course I was supposed to be the lead on that interview. So frantically mopping everything up, hoping that it doesn't short out and cause a fire or something absolutely
and
bizarre.
You didn't get
like
electrocuted,
that.
So you were fine.
Yes, thankfully. And it was just like, oh, well, the carpet's ruined. That's fine. It's just carpet.
Yeah. And where are you?
I'm in Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
And she is in Cleveland. So we were very used to working remotely.
Dumb question, but are you guys on the same time?
We are in the same time zone.
Okay. So are you Eastern Standard Time, or what time are you guys in? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're Eastern Standard. Yeah, now we're Standard. Oh, so it's dark at 4:30.
Yeah, same. Oh, it's
Very
crazy.
depressing.
I was
Now,
just
where are
in
you?
Minneapolis because my aunt lives there.
Mm-hmm.
So I just got back. I guess when was that?
And where are you
Saturday.
based out of? I knew, but I
At
can't remember.
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, in Canada. Oh, she's here. Okay.
Yes, she is.
Hi, Jill.
Hello. How are you?
Welcome to the Fuck You 50s. I'm so interested to hear about your podcast and how it came to be. And I find it so interesting. So you're both librarians, like background, is that correct?
By
Yes.
trade, yes.
Yeah. And then you're no longer working as librarians?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
How did your podcast come about? Keep the Flame Alive, and about the Olympics and Paralympics. I have to also, like, it's actually kind of funny because I'm like, I know nothing about sports.
Fair
like,
enough.
at all. My older sister, she was a basketball star in high school. And because our
wow.
parents divorced when we were little, I lived with one parent and she lived with the other. And then at one point she came to live with my mom and I, and the high school that I was going to realized that she was a basketball star from her high school. So they actually made me try out. And I was like, you guys, that's not me. And I think halfway through the tryout, they came over and kind of tapped me on the shoulder. Yeah, Andrea, you can go now.
Well, the show is for you, actually, because a lot of what we do is explain how sports work. So we talk to athletes and coaches and officials and say, okay, I'm watching luge. What am I watching? What should I be looking for? How does this all operate? And a lot of existing shows and a lot of existing broadcasts don't get into that nitty gritty and that fun behind the scenes stuff that we get to ask, because we do long form interviews. So when you get to talk to somebody for half an hour, 45 minutes, you can ask them things like, do you wear socks under your skates? How do you put the suit on? All those questions that fascinate people like us. And we figured, hey, if it fascinates us, it's going to fascinate other people as well.
Yeah, 100%. I also think too that it's like kind of when you're kind of training to get to that level for competing as well. There's so much that is just about like positivity, weight training, like diet, like in the positive sense. Like I'm very like anti diet trends, but yeah, just to what makes an athlete that I think a lot of people can relate to. So do you have like a favorite athlete or somebody from like coach or whatever from that background that if you haven't listened to our podcast yet, this is the one to listen to?
I'm always going to say the last show, because for me, especially each time we do an interview, I find somebody else to love. So if there's a sport that you really want to learn about, especially we're coming up to 2026, cross country skiing or biathlon, we probably have done a show for you, or it's coming out in the next month or two, that if you have those questions, we're going to get to it. But yeah, it's so hard to pick a favorite. It is like picking a favorite child.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of relates with my podcast too, because everybody I have on has got such a different background and a different kind of relatable story or something that we can like pull from. And so same thing when people ask me, I'm like, well, it kind of depends. Like if you want something specific like pelvic floor, I can tell you exactly what episode to listen to. But and I guess it's all you. So you're talking to everybody in different age ranges, and so kind of I guess there's something for everybody to listen to, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk to people who are younger. We also talk to people who work behind the scenes. So people in IT, people in marketing. We talk to photographers, announcers, commentators, like anything related to the games is up for grabs with us.
Right.
And I like talking to the non-traditional people as well, if you want to call athletes the traditional person who would be on our show. The non-traditional people are interesting because I find it's a way for people who like sports but aren't necessarily talented enough to become professional. They can find, there's all these jobs in sports that I never thought about. Maybe there's something for me, and this is a way to be involved, because you can't put on an Olympics without thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, I spoke to a makeup artist in the UK who she does nails as well. And she got flown to I want to say Argentina. Does that make sense? Was there? I'm sure there was Olympics there. Was there? I don't know. Anyway, she got
Brazil?
flown there to do nails, and she worked in like the athlete's tent
Oh,
and just doing
wow.
like flag art on every athlete, which
That's awesome.
is so cool. I'm like, there is a space for us that don't follow sports.
Right?
Yeah, every Olympics or every Olympic and Paralympic village has the salon, and
Yeah.
it's kind of the hottest ticket for the athletes, so they can get their hair done and their nails done. And when nail art became a thing, it became, how many flags can you do on a finger? And some of them are pretty tricky because they're complex.
Yeah, actually, what's interesting, and I'm from Canada, and she was telling me that the Canadian flag was the one of the hardest to do. I guess it's like the maple leaf.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any? I guess each of you can answer it if you have your own answer. But do you have any kind of real specific takeaway story that you remember? And it can be more than one story. I'll take more
From
your guests.
From our guests. Oh boy. I think understanding how hard and difficult some sports are. Like, we talked with an artistic swimmer a few times. Her name is Jacqueline Simoneau. She's from Canada. And you look at artistic swimming from the outside. If you have no background, you see athletes, because now men can compete in artistic swimming. You see athletes who are wearing very sparkly swimsuits. They have gelatin slicking back their hair. They're wearing a ton of makeup that's waterproof, and they're dancing around in water. But what you don't realize is that they have to hold their breath for minutes at a time, and they're getting kicked in the head, and they're trying to fly, and they're trying to be in sync with a number of other people. And it's just such a difficult sport. That one gets me. And then we, as Alison said, luge is also very difficult. And what's interesting about luge, and we talked with Ashley Farquharson, and also who does singles for Team USA, and then we've talked to a doubles luge pair, Siobhan Forgan. Yes, that was right. Siobhan Forgan and Sophia Kirkby, who do doubles, and the amount of physics that they think about for that sport is unreal. The amount of G's they hit on a turn, and where they want to hit in the turn, and the physics of the sled, and what they have to do with their bodies, and how much weight they can carry, because there's weight limits. So if you're underweight, you have to add weight on. Where do you put that weight? And all of that stuff. It's just mind-blowing, the amount of detail that goes into every one of these sports.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one that sticks out for me is Kenny Badnarik, who is a sprinter. And you think sprinting and 100-meter, 200-meter races are the simplest thing in the world. The gun goes off, you run fast. And yet all the technical details of a 9-second race is breathtaking. Just every foot position, hand position, head position. So many things happen so incredibly quickly that it really is mind-boggling how they can react and adjust and make those changes so quickly that one small finger out of place can change the whole outcome of a race.
I was just turning to get out of my room after I was doing my hair, and I tripped over my own feet. So it's like, I don't think sprinting's in my future.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and along those lines, we talked with a 100-meter hurdler, Dawn Harper Nelson, who won a gold medal. And she says that race, which again is 10, 12 seconds, is really 3 separate races in 100 meters. And they have to break it down so much. Once she explained how that worked, I went back and watched her performance at London 2012, because she had won the gold in 2008. London 2012, she's trying to repeat. And she said, I made a mistake here. And you go back, and after she explained how the race breaks down, you can see the little flub that cost her the gold medal for a repeat gold. It's fascinating.
Wow. So that must also like train your eye for when you're watching like other people, and you just kind of see, oh, they screwed that up.
Yep. And seeing things in person, because we've been fortunate enough to be accredited for we're going to our 3rd Olympics and Paralympics. So we've been to one winter, went to a summer, and then going to another winter. When you see this stuff in person, it's so different than seeing it on TV. Seeing it on TV looks spectacular, but when you see how huge a half pipe is, or how long and steep a slopestyle course is, it's just another level. And how far and high somebody can throw a shot put. When you see that distance in real life, you're like, wow, that is amazing what you can do with your body.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess seeing that not only in person, but also the energy of the people around you. It's different than watching it on television, I would imagine. I mean, I'm usually staring at my phone when my husband's watching sports. I'm so sorry. I'm like, I honestly, when I told my husband that I was going to have you guys on my podcast, he's like, they know that you know nothing about sports, right? I'm like, that makes it perfect.
But I mean, oh, go ahead, Alison.
I was just going to say, so often I talk about how I'm like a non-sports fan that loves the Olympics because I love the people and I love the athletes and I love seeing what they can do, as Jill says, what they're capable of, and learning about them as people, and then as learning them about athletes. It gives it a much deeper dimension. And so much more fun, and being able to cheer for people in person that we've interviewed and have that connection or that you've heard the interview of. It makes it so much different when you hear about what they eat before a competition and how they do the other, they talk about the other 3 years, how everything goes when the world isn't paying attention.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, the other character in all of this is the country and host city, because, and that's the other fun thing about watching in the Olympics is you get to see a country on display, and all the time you're like, oh, I really want to go there. I still really want to go to London again. Being in Paris was unbelievable, and all the ways they incorporated the iconic locations around the city into putting on this event that the world can enjoy. And you see this stuff on TV and you're like, oh yeah, I may not care about the sport, but I really care about hitting up that Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably a bit of everything, right? It's all encompassing. When you guys have had the benefits of traveling to the countries too, have you connected with the tourism board? Like, do you get any kind of like little like press privilege at all?
It depends on each country. In Paris, they had a whole Paris media center separate from the Olympic and Paralympic media center that was focused on the city. So in that, they gave us tours and talks, and we got to try indoor surfing, which was wild. Trust me, you cannot imagine me on an indoor surfboard. That was never on my bucket list, but it was great fun.
I was going to say, I don't think I have the pelvic floor for surfing, but I guess it doesn't matter because you're surrounded by water.
Let me tell you something. I didn't think so either. I didn't think I had the balance, and yet somehow wiping out was very balletic. So yes, in Paris, they did a lot to make the city part of our experience. Whereas in Beijing, it was during COVID. We were behind barbed wire and in the bubble, and we could go nowhere except to the hotel, to the bus stop, to the media center, and to the venues. And even then, it was very controlled. We couldn't open the windows on our buses.
You couldn't get to the Great Wall, or did you manage to get to the Great
Wall?
We
did not. We saw it from a distance.
They tried a few tours. Those booked up immediately. I think China did try to do what they could to bring some of the culture to you. So they'd have displays in the media center, and they'd sometimes have talks here and there, but it was really, really difficult to do anything to showcase what China was all about.
What year was that?
That was 2022.
2022. Wow. So kind of, I guess, the tail end of COVID, but right?
Yeah.
But we were in China. I know. We were in the safest place in the entire world. Every single person in that bubble was tested every single day.
Oh, I'm sure.
So poor Jill was there for 7 weeks. I was only there for less than 3. But man, we got really friendly with those guys sticking Q-tips up our nose every day.
No kidding. Did you guys have quarantine going in, or if the quarantine was over at that point? You did?
It was a very, very long process to get in that involved going to get specific kinds of COVID tests at specific locations. You had to get a green light on your visa before you could get into the country, which I was not getting my green light. And I'm at the airport, and they're like, you have all the tests. I don't know why they're not giving you your green light. And they, finally get on the plane, and you think, oh, we're gonna make it. We're gonna get in there. And I didn't realize how stressful it was, because in the month leading up to Beijing, in the month and a half leading up to Beijing, we had decided, my husband and I, that was the first time we could go have Christmas with family. And then after that, we would go and hunker down and get me ready for Beijing. Well, we go to have Christmas with his side of the family. We go to my side of the family. And during that time, my brother dies from COVID.
Oh,
So
sorry.
thank you. And we were at the hospital, and it was in Indiana, which had different COVID rules than what we were following. And so that was nerve-wracking to be in a hospital setting in the ICU and have all these other people around, and they'd be like, well, you can look at his body, but you can't go in there because he still is infectious. So we go home, and for the next month, the only person I saw outside of my husband was my hairstylist for the 10 minutes it took to cut my hair. And
however,
yes, exactly. Right? It was like, I'm getting to my hairdresser no matter what. And once I got to China and got into the closed loop, because once you got there, you tested again, and they took you to your hotel, and you just kind of had to wait till you were cleared to stay, and then you could finally check into your room officially, and you were in. Once I got that okay, I didn't like the stress that left me was unreal because I didn't know how bad it had been. And you'll talk about the athletes in this time, if you go back, and they were like, oh, it was really stressful. It was so stressful being isolated like that. And it's one thing to hear that, it's a different thing to experience it. And it's really, really hard to put into words how much stress that was.
I can only imagine. We were living in Singapore at the time.
Oh, wow.
So so we couldn't leave, which was unfortunate because we were living as expats. And so we didn't have the in and out of the country status. But even like at the beginning of COVID anyway, you didn't have the in and out capability. But I guess it was 22 was when we decided to move back to Canada in 21. And it took us a year process to do that with like just, because we're planning. Some people, as they live as expats, if they get told they don't have a job anymore, they have less than 30 days to get out of the country. So for us doing it on our own terms, that was good. But I have two older daughters that were living in Canada. So my eldest came over a couple of times during COVID.
Wow.
But but that was past the quarantine stage.
We got to fly through Singapore's airport, which was super exciting because we knew it was like one of the best airports in the world with all the stuff that was closed. But we couldn't see any of the cool stuff. So I really want to go back to Singapore.
Yeah. It's a great place. We were there for 15 years. So.
Wow.
And we did manage, we did get to Beijing for a family holiday. So that was a cool experience. But I couldn't imagine. In 2009, we went to Hong Kong. So they have Labor Day in May. So we went for Labor Day long weekend. And then our hotel that we were staying at, one of the guests had swine flu. So that was during the swine flu outbreak. So we ended up in quarantine there for a week. And my youngest daughter, because I have three kids, my youngest at the time was a baby. I won't get into the long story because it's about you guys, but she ended up, she was born with a problem with her kidney. And so she would constantly get infections, and she grew out of it. So that was good. But she was on medication for her first 2 years of life. And she ended up getting one of her infections while we were in quarantine for the swine flu. And it was such an insane experience. And her and I got moved to a hospital in quarantine. And anyway, it's a whole long, eventful story. But quarantine's not fun.
No, it's not.
What was scary and funny in a way with China was, as I said, Jill was there first, and she used to tell me how all of a sudden there'd be a table in the hallway if somebody had tested positive with like a piece of paper on it in front of their hotel room door. And it was like, oh no, there's somebody in the hotel who's going to quarantine. It was the worst scarlet letter. And
I was going to say, wasn't that like a plague thing where you just had the red mark on your door?
Wow. Oopsies.
Yeah. Good times in China.
Good times. So how did you guys break into this anyway? And do you find, because it seems to be very, very much like a male centric kind of industry, right? So
yes.
So have you had any issues? Has it been well received? And how did you get into it? And let me just throw 20 questions at you and go.
Well, let's start with the how we got into it. So, as we said, Jill and I used to be corporate librarians, and we worked together in a consulting firm in Chicago. And we worked in kind of an open office, and we just turn around and talk to each other. So was it Salt Lake City that was happening? So it was Salt Lake City, and we would just turn and talk every day. And then I moved away. She moved away. Jill was working at home. I was staying home with my daughter. And it was kind of lonely, and we missed talking about this. So it was Jill's idea, and I was coming through town, and she just said, let's do a podcast. And I said, I have no idea what that means. Sure, let's try it. And at first it was just us doing the show. And then we got into interviewing, and then we got accreditation. So it all happened somewhat slowly to evolve into what we're doing right now. And so we almost didn't realize we were becoming sports journalists until we were there, in the pits of a scrum, going, oh, wow, we're with these people.
Hold on, while I look up pits and scrum.
No, those are just my words. When you're with a whole bunch of other journalists and trying to get somebody's attention and trying to get the quote. And I don't know. Sometimes I still don't think of myself that way. I still think of myself as, oh, I'm just the old lady who loves the Olympics and go into it like that. So I've never had trouble with the other journalists in the sense that they might have trouble with me, but I don't necessarily care that much.
Right. Yeah.
But
so they will hurt my feelings.
Yeah. And you do notice it when you're there. A lot of it is because we're doing this on our own, and we're just in our own space. We don't go to the games every night like a basketball journalist might, or any kind of sports journalist who's covering a sport regularly. And we're not working with a whole bunch of people around us. That's good, because then we can just come up with whatever we want. That's bad because we don't know what we're doing some of the time. And thank goodness we got to go to a COVID games first to find out all of the little things that happened behind the scenes that we didn't know we needed to do.
But how fun is that for your audience, though? Because they're kind of learning it with you as well. Yeah. And I have to say, putting in perspective as a hairstylist, like there's so many different hair types and styles that I do that I technically know how to do. But then I'll see someone that'll do something that'll be just not the way, not the steps to do it, and you're like, oh, well, that's cool. Like, I like their take on that. And I feel like that could be the same kind of vibe with you guys. And it's like, you're taking things from the box that people are put in, and you're, creating your own rhombus.
We didn't know that was going to be the charm and fun and angle, if you will, of the show until we started doing it that way. And just started talking about, especially during China, what was happening during the day, how much trouble we had getting around, how much trouble we had finding places, how we got lost. And it became, certainly for the daily shows during the games, what people really responded to. People were saying, oh, I love when you got lost. And I love when you were telling the story of trying to find a Western bathroom, or when you slid down the hill, or whatever strange things were happening became our story. Because you can watch the sports, but we were telling them all the stuff they could not see, especially during China and even during Paris when people couldn't go.
Right. And we're also lucky that we get to do it our own way. So if you work for the CBC, you have to have some, not that we're not professional, because we are professional, but we'll be asking it how it is or telling it like it is. Whereas somebody who works for a major network who has the rights, they kind of got to toe the line. If there's a company line or standards that they have to have, and we've got our own standards, but we can also, we're a lot freer to do what we want. We're not working for the New York Times and their cadre of 40 journalists that are there and all of the resources that comes with, because, it takes a lot of resources to get to these places. But we're also not the one person who's stuck at speed skating the entire
Right.
time and
Yeah.
not thrilled that they're stuck at speed skating. Not that, you can find a ton to love about speed skating. That's for sure. So don't take me on that. But they're like, oh yeah, I'm at speed skating, because I heard some bros on the bus. They're at speed skating and like, oh, I get to go to any venue I want to.
Yes.
That's
you don't have
the fun of
that list
Yes.
of things that you have to hit for your
Yes.
your
Yeah.
editor or whatever.
Yeah,
For sure. You can follow the bouncing ball, if you will, and kind of choose kind of where you want to go.
right.
See, I'm just trying to throw like some sports in
That
there.
was fabulous.
That's good. That's good. But like you were saying, it's very bro-y there.
Yeah.
It's I mean, especially at the Olympics. The Paralympics cleans out because people, unfortunately, very, very unfortunately, there's not a lot of resource given to covering the Paralympics yet. It's getting better.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will continue to get better. But and that's a whole different other thing. But when we're at the Olympics, it's amazing the percentage of the media workrooms that are men and are
young.
Yeah.
young, or I've seen like the old guard hold court.
Mhm.
And it's just like, oh boy, it really is like this, huh?
Do they try to mansplain to you as well?
Yes. Just a short answer, yes. Actually, what I find the most frustrating, and I found this a lot in Paris because there was many, many more journalists coming to Paris than to China because of COVID, and I was only there for the Paralympics. So there was a lot of young women who came with their college professors. I saw at least 3 groups who did this. And what I wanted to scream at these young women were they were getting into being one of the bros.
Oh.
And I wanted to say to them, please don't do this. Bring your voice to sports journalism. You don't have to play this game. You don't have to be one of the guys. Bring the female voice to your stories. And not only is it worthwhile hearing, it is what we need to hear. We need a different perspective. And
what do you think it like showcases the different perspective? Does that make sense to you? Like
I think it's just being honest with yourself. I don't think there's necessarily a female versus a male voice. I think there's that person's voice, whether she's Janet or Bob. And because I saw the young women trying to shape themselves into something else. And that's what was so frustrating. It wasn't necessarily a male-female thing as much as just use your voice, whatever that is, and stop trying to be what you see in front of you. I mean, that's the one thing I wanted to say to them, that as this point in my life, I did it too. We all did it when we were in our 20s. And I'm like, oh God, please don't do that.
Well, it's also when you're just like, you're trying, like you say, when you're younger, you're trying to work it out. You're trying to figure out like, who am I? How do I fit in? Do I need to fit in? Like, it's a bit of all of that, right?
And it's hard because there are so few women, and there are so few women like teaching the next generation of sports journalists as well. There are some women who work very, very hard to mentor and to make pathways and provide opportunities for the younger generation to come up. It's just, you're dealing with a numbers game. And if you're learning if you're learning from a man, you're going to kind of emulate, if they're saying this is the style we do or whatever, and you're the one person out of 7 in your group who's different, you're probably going to try to fit in if you're feeling insecure about things.
True. People need to realize it's just like being different can also be truly amazing. It's again, it's like what you're saying, kind of bringing in that different perspective and just fresh energy, even if we're old aunties.
And I think we didn't realize we were supposed to fit in. And I think being older helped us be comfortable with that. We didn't realize we were supposed to be one of the bros. We just kind of did our thing. And then later we realized, because how we got the Olympic Aunties was one of the handlers said that to the athletes, like, oh, you're going to like talking to them. It's like talking to your auntie. And
was this in China?
No, this was actually at a Team USA Media Summit.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't realize we were doing it so differently till she said that, I'm like, oh yeah, we are. We love all these kids. They're fantastic.
Do you know kind of how you do it differently? Like, is there like a style that you guys can say? Like, is it more chatty? Is it more warm?
Well,
Is it?
I will say from the Team USA Media Summit ahead of Harris, because we like talking about how sports work, back to Kenny Bednarik. Poor Kenny sits down, and I have been wanting to talk about sprints for a long time, and we have a hard time getting sprinters on because we're a tiny show. And so sprinters usually have big names and big PR reps or whatever rep or manager who gatekeeps for them a lot. So it's really hard to get them on. We had talked with somebody about the 400 meter and spent a good 45 minutes talking about baton handoffs, if you can believe it. We did. Fascinating, though. It was absolutely enthralling how much work goes and detail goes into getting that right. So I had wanted to talk with a sprinter about running the curve in a 200 meter, because you hear that on broadcast a lot. Oh, he's running the curve. Oh, he took the curve really well. I don't know what that means. And so poor Kenny sits down after. Yeah, I know. Kenny had gone through what they called video row. And video row was just, you go from camera to camera. There are at least 12, 15 cameras there. And they're all trying to get their quick hits so that they can make interstitial videos. They can make minute-long videos to put on their websites, whatever it was. And, it'd be like, what's your favorite potato? Say some words in French. What are you looking forward to doing in Paris? And Kenny sits down and I say, okay, so let's talk about running the curve. And he looks at me like, what did I just walk into? Like, he was after all this fluff, he had to sit down and talk his sport. And then once he realized what we were talking about, because then we had to explain what we did, then he's like, oh, we're going to talk this. Let's talk game. And we talked game for 4 or 5 minutes, and then he got pulled away and we got in trouble for keeping him too long. That's also what we do.
You got your hands slapped.
We got our hands slapped a lot. And I think when you talk about what do we do differently, one, we ask, we always say we ask the questions that fans want to ask, but nobody asks.
Yeah.
And we also want them to be comfortable. We're not interested in gotchas. We're not interested in digging through dirt. That's just not our style. It's also not interesting, I think, for fans. They get the gossip elsewhere, but they don't get, how does Kenny Bednarik run the curve? How do they take their poles for pole vault on the airplane? How do horses get to the Olympics? All those things that when somebody asks the question, you go, oh yeah. And so I think once they get to talk about their sport and find out we're really interested in it, it opens them up and they get more chatty and they feel the warmth. I want to like the people that we interview. I don't want it to be harsh.
Yeah, I agree. Like that whole cringe interviews and things like that, or when you see, like the Hollywood panels, and then they're always asking the actresses like, "What's the dress you're wearing?" or like, "What's your favorite lipstick?" It's like, why don't you ask? Do they method act, or do they, like more like things that are going to be interesting versus like just the cringy.
And we're about the athlete or the person, not the story that we think is out there and we try to uncover. We're also not about the inspirational interviews. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of podcasts that do, let's inspire you with this person and their story. And we get to their story, but a lot of what comes through in their story is because we talk about what they do all day. And like Alison said, we get them comfortable and then they open up more. And we find out details that you didn't know, how difficult it was to be an athlete or how much they have to go through, or especially in a small sport, especially one that's expensive, how they pay for this. How does the money come? I'm the money person. I always want to know how much it costs. And it's a lot of money for some of these sports. And just getting them to talk about that. Kind of,
you're like, why can't you just be a sprinter? Then you just buy running shoes and a gym outfit.
Right. Yeah, you got to truck a sailboat around, or you're going through boxes of ammo every day. Like, you talk to the poor people who have to take guns and skis through an airport.
Oh my God!
And sometimes wheelchairs or prosthetics. It's just mind-boggling the stuff that they have to go through.
What I find interesting, just when you touched on like wheelchairs. So I met, when we were living in Singapore, I met this woman that was there with her husband who's in a wheelchair, and they were just traveling just for travel. And she has to go a few days ahead of him and I didn't even know that this was a thing. So she said hotels will say that they're wheelchair friendly, and then she'll get there to realize that they're actually not wheelchair friendly. And it's like the height of the bed, the doorways to get in, like sometimes they'll say they have an elevator, but then there's stairs to get to the elevator versus like a ramp, So I don't mean to laugh because it's not funny, but it's funny how hotels will say, yeah, we're fine, or any kind of like restaurants that say they're accessible, and they're truly not.
We spoke with Alison Levine, who also Canadian bocce player, and she talked about when she went to Paris for the Paralympics, what a relief it was to know going into the Paralympic Village that her accommodations wouldn't have any of those issues, that she could take that whole part of her brain and shut it off and know that everything was going to be accessible, that they had technicians there to help her if she had a problem with her wheelchair, if the airline broke something, if something didn't work in Paris, if something wasn't compatible. And she could just focus on her sport and not have to deal with life.
Yeah.
And what a burden that was every other time for just what you said. The hotel says it's accessible, but is it really?
Yeah. And it's probably able-bodied people that are telling you it's accessible, right?
Yeah.
And how would they know?
Not thinking.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like, I wear a hearing aid in my right ear now because of an autoimmune disorder. And so that's like nothing on this grand scheme of things at all, of course. But I find when I go out for dinner, like some restaurants, it's just the ambient noise. I can't focus on a conversation. And last Christmas, we were going out for dinner with some friends, and I called ahead to the restaurant. And it's a restaurant my husband and I have been to before, and it's a cute little, like, their main dining room is like, dressed up, like, decorated quite nicely. And so I asked them if they had an area they could sit us in. I said, I have a hearing problem with my right ear, and it would be great maybe against the wall or kind of in a back corner so there's not so much noise around me. And when we got there, they have like a back porch that they set up is like it wasn't even the same. Like, they hadn't decorated it. It was just kind of like we go walking through and right to the back. And I thought, now I just don't even feel like I'm part of this restaurant. And I thought they should have just either put me in a corner like I had asked, or just said they couldn't accommodate. Because it's like, then I just felt like, and I feel like, again, I don't want to compare like my hearing loss in one ear to people that have to be in a wheelchair, but it's like you want to feel like you're included and part of it. And if you're, like you're saying, if you have a split focus because you're like, is this accommodation is going to be there for me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And even that little bit of disability, you get that insight into what it's like to be you can better relate to somebody who has to deal with it all the time. And as able-bodied people, like we got into the Paralympics because our focus when we started the show was Olympics. And we had listeners who were like, hey, how about the Paralympics? They're cool. We can get you to talk to some people. And we said, okay. And then we found out how cool parasport was. And the insight into what these athletes have to go through on a regular basis just to get through life and daily life has been eye-opening for us, especially like when Alison Levine talked with us about just how much of a relief it was. You go from, oh, maybe I have one bathroom transfer instead of 3 to take a shower.
Right.
My helper also gets a break because sometimes disabilities are so extensive you have to have an assistant with you all the time. Well, when accommodations are really accessible, that person gets a break too. And it's just interesting, and it makes you think, how can things be better? I like to think we shed just a tiny little bit of light on what Paralympians have to go through, and para athletes, and therefore other disabled people who don't compete in sports. What is life like for them? And it makes you think a little bit better and think about, oh, how can I be more accommodating when the time comes up? Or how can I make my little part of the world more accommodating?
Yeah. Just being more aware. Absolutely.
We were very nervous I should say I was very nervous. I think Jill was too, when we first started interviewing Paralympians, because we are both able-bodied. We didn't want to say the wrong thing. We didn't want to use the wrong language. And we learned very quickly, interviewing Paralympians is just like interviewing Olympians. You ask the question and they will tell you if you've said something inappropriate or if you've used the wrong language, and not in a dismissive or defensive way. If you come at it saying, I'm trying to learn about your sport and I'm trying to learn about you as an athlete, you will get a great interview, even if you use the wrong word. And that was a big change for us mentally, to just get, we're just interviewing athletes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also made a big difference in the kind of shows we produced with Paralympians, that it wasn't that inspiration, they're a superhero.
Right.
No, they're a shot putter who's trying to fix their technique.
Yeah.
Who's having a problem with their shoe and had to make this adjustment, just like an Olympic shot putter. So those became much more interesting interviews. And again, what we weren't hearing that we wanted to hear.
So do you guys, because I always say to everybody, you don't have to reveal your age.
Oh, no, I'll tell anybody my age.
All right.
I'm 54.
You're 54, then I'm 53, because I'm now having to do the math. I don't like the math, because it's 2025.
Yes. And we both have fall birthdays, so we both have had to now change the number again.
Right.
Yeah.
So
but I tell anybody how old I am. I mean, I have a 23-year-old daughter.
Okay.
So how young could I? I mean, I guess I could
I'm
be
not
like 40.
old enough mentally to have children. That's
there you go.
That's the hard thing. I just do not feel old enough to have kids.
Neither do
I definitely think my 17-year-old is more mature than I am. I feel like my family would agree with me.
I think we get a little less mature as we get through our 50s.
Yeah.
Because we just don't care what other people think as much. I mean, that's been a big change for me.
Yeah.
Is just not
giving a fuck.
Not caring. Yes, exactly. See, we have a clean language, so I can't I'm like, oh God, no. You're in front of the microphone. You can't swear.
Whereas I swear all the time. Clearly.
Fantastic.
Well, at home, yes. And I realize
at home, but
outside the confines.
You're like, when the mics are down.
Although, when my husband and I did try to have kids, and we swore a lot, and we said, we can't have these kind of mouths if we have children. So we started training ourselves to not swear.
My oldest daughter, so my eldest daughter is, she's 31 now, but when she was just kind of at the potty training stage, she was in her sandbox with some friends and she peed. And the great thing about peeing in a sandbox is just like it clutters, like kitty litter, right? So she came inside and she was like, Mommy, I peed in my sandbox. I'm like, it's okay. Set her at the bottom of the stairs, just sit there, I'm going to clear it out. So I, scoop it out and I come back in and she's literally at the bottom of the stairs, taking the sand that was still in between her toes, probably covered in pee, and flicking it, probably not the best in my house, but, and saying, for suck's sakes, I peed in my sandbox, for suck's sakes. Gosh. I had somebody that was there was like, maybe you should stop swearing in front of your children. And I'm like, I don't know.
It's kind of cute.
It gives them some personality. Trains them for the real world.
And she still has that personality, but she's no longer peeing in sandboxes.
Oh, that's good.
One time.
Excellent. They never that stage never lasts. Thanks.
So what's next for you guys?
2026, Milano Cortina.
Oh,
We are staring down the barrel of a very complex, very expensive project of the Winter Olympics and Paralympics. And it is pretty overwhelming, but exciting.
Yeah.
Overwhelming and exciting, which is kind of every day for us. It feels like when we're working on the show.
And have you guys been to I'm so sorry. That's Italy, right? We're talking Italy.
Yes.
I feel like I'm sounding really stupid right now, but it's okay.
That's why we edit.
Yeah. So, and I saw you guys have a bit of a campaign fundraiser to help get you there too, because you are an indie podcast, right? So you say, you're not New York Times, so you don't have people flying you over. So how's that going?
Good start. It needs help, of course.
Yes.
It's a big ticket item. And as you said, we don't have corporate support. We don't have the the big machine behind us. But on the other hand, when listeners write in during the games and ask us questions or send us an email or send us a voicemail, we will go and get that answer.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stress being independent and small, but there's also, as Jill was saying earlier, there's a lot of freedom and joy in that as well.
We can really connect with the listeners a lot more. They get a direct pipeline basically to try to get some answers, and we've had a lot of fun with them and celebrating with them, even if they're on the couch.
Yeah. And you guys were, I guess, in your late 40s then when you started the podcast?
Yeah.
And so what do you say to other people, especially women that are in their late 40s, maybe 50s, maybe even beyond, because podcasts are such a big thing right now, right? And everyone seems to want to start one. And I do not say that with an eye roll. I definitely have had people say that to me, like, oh yeah, you got a podcast? Everyone has a podcast.
It's like it's the new blog or the,
Yeah. But
why not? Just do it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Why not? Jill and I figured it. I mean, Jill did most of the technical stuff in terms of learning how to edit, learning how to publish this stuff.
So Jill's the IT department?
Yeah. Jill is the IT department, and we didn't know what we were doing. We didn't even know what we didn't know when we started. And what a joy to figure that all out and learn all of that and have these adventures that, honestly, I could not have thought that I would spend 2 months in Paris at this point in my life. Who imagines that? And yet there I was, falling in love with a grocery store.
Yeah,
that was wild.
What has there been any major learning curve for you guys?
The whole thing. I mean,
this sounds like this is a great answer.
I mean, it's great to hear. Yeah, go out and do it. You can take control. It takes a lot of work. I will say that. If you want to try something and try it, and if you really love it, it's going to take a lot of work to be good at it. You have to figure out what success means for you. So, success for some people is money. Success is a big listenership. Sometimes success is they let us into the Olympics. That's we could say we've earned a credit. We built a media outlet from the ground up, and are taken seriously as a journalistic media outlet that can get accreditation at the Olympics, which, if you don't know, it's extremely, extremely competitive for media outlets to go. And there's a lot of places that want to get in and can't. And we managed to work our way onto the list of people who, if we keep proving ourselves, we continue to get to go to the games. But it takes a lot of planning. It takes, if you want to start a podcast, I would say get a few in the can or get some ideas. Be willing to change. Be willing to try new things, and just keep at it and figure out what success means for you, and be happy with that, and make your own path. It's really, really easy to get sucked into, this is what somebody else is doing. This is what that person's doing. Well, we can't afford X and I don't like Y. So let's just keep doing what we want to do. And we try stuff that doesn't work all the time. And that's fine. Yep. But we just keep at it. We love what we do.
That's fantastic. And I want to say congratulations on your accreditation for the Olympics.
That
does sound like really like a fantastic feat.
I mean, like maybe we took two accreditation spots away from the New York Times or USA Today because we got to keep the flame alive there. I feel really good and really accomplished that we've done that, especially when like at the beginning when we started this thing and we reached out to Team USA for something. We reached out to them for a tour of the training facility because we were going to be around one. They said, "Yeah, we don't know who you are." No. And
now we have friends there.
Yeah, now we're friends.
Like, give us hugs when we go to the media summit. That was
and they're
fun.
excited to see us. So we've just worked really hard and tried to do good work. And I think that's do your best.
And it seems like you guys bring such a fresh perspective as well. It's going to be it's just going to be something different. I feel like that just kind of makes sense for sure. And definitely it's like people are going to come to you. I'm sure you probably got it maybe more in the beginning. I don't know if you guys still get it now, and my podcast has only been around since February. I only started it this year. And I definitely have had people that have been like, you know what you should do? And I'm like, sure, what should I do? I don't want to say no to people, but I always hear like that sentence of, or, like, you know what you should do? I'm like, oh, here we go. What should I do? But I will never say no because, somebody might come with a great idea, right?
That's
I have had a few people.
Implement.
Sorry, say that again.
That's
sorry.
Easy to implement.
Yeah. I've had a few people suggest that I change the name of my podcast from the Fuck You 50s, but I feel like it's very specific to an audience. And I think that you know what you're getting when you see the title. And I think that if it's not for you, that's totally cool. Like we are not for everybody. And I feel like I just want to keep it,
you can't be.
Yeah. Because it's sassy.
If you're for everybody, then you're for nobody.
And how do you stand out?
Yeah.
If you're for, just one in a million.
Is this your full-time gig now? You guys still working?
We still do other stuff. Yeah. So the family support has been everything. We've had to been away from home. We have to make financial sacrifices. So the support has been amazing and we couldn't do it without that.
Well, and Mont Jairus gets to brag that her kid's going to Italy, for work, that kind of thing.
Yes.
That's I think that helps too.
Yeah. No, my parents still tell me I can't go. And I had to share my location. This was so obviously before I went to China, there was that concern. Understandable. But they were still concerned when I went to Paris. And so I shared my location with my dad and I said, Dad, how are you going to even know what it is? He's like, well, I'll know where your hotel is and I'll check and make sure that you're there at night. So he would check. But the problem was we were getting back at like 3 a.m. So, but when he went to bed, time difference helped me here. I was in my hotel room and he was like, okay, as long as you're in your hotel room at night. So that's been kind of interesting.
And you're like, but what if my kidnappers leave my phone in my room?
I did not bring that up because he was already concerned. I did not point out the flaw in his plan, but if he saw me moving around to appropriate places and then back to the hotel, then he could sleep easier while I was gone.
That's funny. My mom, she does listen to my podcast. So hi, Mom. Shout out to moms.
Hello, Mom.
But when I was, like I said, I flew to my aunt's in Minneapolis last week and I was on the plane and I get the free Wi-Fi and message comes in from my mom. You haven't even left yet with a bunch of exclamation marks and a question mark. I'm like, I've already been in the air for 45 minutes, Mom. There's a glitch in your stalking software.
I do it to my daughter, so I can't even say a word. I like, where is she? Is she home? When she was away at school, it would be like, oh, is she here at night? So we come by it genetically.
Yeah. I plead the fifth with my children.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, guys. This has been such a great conversation, and I really appreciate your time. And anything else you guys want to add, or anything?
I'm just going to plug the website.
Yes, do that. And I will also, I'll let you, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Allison, but I will also add all of that in the show notes and also for your oh my gosh,
fundraiser?
Lost the word. Thank you. Fundraiser, right. 54 years old. I lose vocabulary all the time.
It's one of the worst things. I hate it.
I hate it too. Yeah. So all that will be in the show notes, but Allison, please say it all here as well.
Yeah. So you can find the show at flamealivepod.com. Fundraiser pops up right there, as do all our old episodes. And the most recent episode is right on top. And I say start with the most recent and hear what's going on to get ready for Winter Olympics and Paralympics.
Amazing.
So excited. And then watch for us to fall down a mountain in February.
That sounds not so much fun. Thanks for tuning in to the Fuck You 50s. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to follow and rate the podcast. And we would love to connect with you on Instagram. So be sure to follow us at the Fuck You 50s. The Fuck You 50s is hosted by Andrea Claire. See you next time.